New books. America's Terror War on America.
The war on terror didn't start as an attack on Americans' rights, supposedly, but several new books argue that's exactly what has happened. A slew of recent books about the BUSH administration's wars at home as well as abroad might leave you wondering if President George W. BUSH and Vice President Dick Cheney are their own axis of evil. In excruciating detail, these tomes tell of torture and warrantless wiretaps. They show a relentless arrogation of power and abrogation of what were thought to be solid constitutional principles. In these books, serious delusions got us into Iraq, and misjudgments have helped keep us there. The picture that emerges is so bleak that even serious journalists and scholars sometimes veer toward conspiracy theories. Consider, for instance, the lurid title of an otherwise scrupulously researched book by Pulitzer Prize-winning Boston Globe reporter Charlie Savage, Takeover: The Return of the Imperial Presidency and the Subversion of American Democracy. The BUSH and Cheney, who emerge from these pages, cherish secrecy. They deplore constraint, and they sneer and laugh at dissent. So nothing and nobody can dissuade them from their chosen demonic course. Reality checks are not allowed. Democracies die behind closed doors. Federal Appeals Court Judge Damon Keefe said in 2002, the framers of the First Amendment did not trust any government to separate the true from the false for us. They protected the people against secret government. To tell the story of how this happened, it's useful to start, the Savage does, by following Cheney's career. Cheney was chief of staff in the Gerald Ford White House, fighting a rear guard action to protect presidential power from a vindictive and meddlesome Congress in the aftermath of Vietnam, Watergate, and public scandals about the CIA's secret operations, like McCulture. Congress. Later, serving in Congress himself, Cheney remained a passionate defender of the executive, arguing that the legislative branch had no right to rein in the secret presidential activities that led to the Iran-Contra scandal. As Secretary of Defense under President George H.W. Bush in 1991, Cheney insisted that approval from Congress wasn't needed for a war against Saddam Hussein. The elder Bush overruled him. But when Cheney became vice president 10 years later, the veteran Washington infighter was paired with the younger BUSH George W., who was, as Savage puts it, one of the least experienced presidents ever to take the oath. Cheney and the staff, particularly his longtime aide David Allington, soon came to dominate almost every debate over constitutional issues that touched on national security and executive authority. Goldsmith remembers how they addressed old laws they didn't like. They blew through them in secret based on flimsy legal opinions that they guarded closely so no one could question the legal basis for the operations. From the beginning, BUSH's staff, guided by Cheney's, hoped to enlarge the zone of secrecy around the executive branch. Just call everything classified. To reduce the power of Congress, to restrict presidential action, to undermine limits imposed by international treaties, to nominate judges in favor of a stronger president, and to impose greater White House control over the permanent workings of government, writes Savage. Then 9/11 happened, and suddenly, like instantly, the war on terrorism's climate of perpetual emergency provided a vehicle for turning Cheney's vision of an unfettered commander-in-chief into a reality. It was the administration's ignorance of the enemy that it now confronted that led it in part to resort to extreme tactics. Problems that ran so deep were not going to be changed in time to meet the clear and present danger that now faced the country. To a layman's eyes, all these measures would seem to violate the Bill of Rights, like torture and Abu Ghraib, suspected Al-Qaeda prisoners taken to secret sites or to Guantanamo. To a layman's eyes, yes, all these measures would seem to violate the Bill of Rights, in some cases the Geneva Conventions. The pervasive secrecy threatened the First Amendment's guarantee of free speech. The wiretaps blew in the face of Fourth Amendment guarantees that no warrants for searches, or, by extension, surveillance, would be issued without probable cause and specific details. The detentions, especially of American citizens designated so-called supposedly enemy combatants, defy the Sixth Amendment rights to a speedy trial. And everything else. What is wrong with this country? These are all signs of the last days. Period.